Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This morning I'm looking at a book which has come to us from the Law Society. It's part of the series of toolkits that they produce to help us as practitioners, both as barristers and solicitors, predominantly solicitors. This particular book is the COLPs Toolkit, now in a second edition, and it includes a CD. It's been written and produced by Michelle Garlick. Now, the title that Elizabeth and I have given for our review of this short work, which is here, I'll show you it in a moment, is another excellent Law Society toolkit in the Risk and Compliance series, because this is part of the Law Society's Risk and Compliance series, which they run. Now, COLPs, for just to remind you what COLPs are, they are compliance officers for legal practice. So we've got the little definition out of the way first. Let's look at the toolkit. These are wonderful little books. This is the standard house style again. You can see it says includes CD at the top, second edition, and it's the Law Society's Risk and Compliance service. There, that's the front, the spine, and then there's a little bit of information on the back and a little bit about Michelle. And then there's the CD at the back. It runs to just over 130 pages. There are a couple of appendices, further guidance, and then the various other appendices. That's suitability tests. There we go there. And Appendix A is the authorization rules. There we go. Now at the front, there's the front page. That is the list of titles in the series, growing as we speak. Here is the content section. You can see how it's structured. You've got a whole series of comments and then annexes, a total of 5 main chapters, the role of the COLP, or COLP rather. Then there's a very useful forward from Pearl Moses, which I will refer to in due course. She's the head of Risk and Compliance at the Law Society. Then Michelle has written a preface to the subject matter. She's made some changes because there have been some changes since the first edition. Then she talks about the role of the COLP, and then we go on from there, and you can see the structure. There's some emboldened pieces, blocked out pieces, which give you some useful pointers. You can see those as you go through the work. Then you've got quite a lot of forms, registers, various other things. It's a proper, in other words, a proper toolkit, which is something, of course, every firm should have. Now, what do we say about it? Because we've reviewed many of these books over the years, and they're all of a very high quality and fundamental, frankly, for your law firm's library. What we say is this: Michelle Garlick and Law Society Publications continue to provide us with excellent administrative support in the increasingly complex regulatory area that lawyers face today, and that's a statement of truth on the face of it, because we are getting a more complex society on a daily basis. This need has arisen, of course, because of the introduction of what I call a system of compliance officers for legal practice, the COLPs, which is a scheme, effectively. Now, the Solicitor's Regulatory Authority has at last simplified some of the procedures for the approval, declaration and notification of changes to the role of a COLP. And we've been given what I think is a first-class piece of guidance with this new toolkit, which has been updated for a second edition, 2016. The Law Society publications that we've had in the past are by far the best, I think, on the market for those of us in the profession, because they guide law firms specifically, and that includes counsel as well. And every lawyer, we think, should know of their existence, they don't already, and have a copy, as I say, in their own law library for reference, mainly because you may need to refer to this sort of document from time to time. Now, the changes to the COLP regime, as well as additional new templates, are included in the new updated second edition. And it's an invaluable resource for both new and existing COLPs. Like others in the series, this essential Toolkit contains draft policies, procedural checklists and other instruments to assist practitioners in demonstrating due diligence and remaining fully compliant with the SRA Handbook. And frankly, it does make our life a lot easier, I think. It's an absolute must then for the practising solicitor in today's regulatory frenzy, which we hope perhaps might die down a bit now the Brexiteers have got their way and what they wanted. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. I suspect that's what one or two people thought. However, I thought I'd throw that in. Now, this fully updated edition also has a new edition entitled Additional COLP Tools, which we found extremely helpful as well. And Pearl Moses, who I mentioned before, she's the head of risk and compliance at the Law Society, and she writes in the foreword the following, that, quote, "Our hope is that these toolkits rapidly become must-have elements in every practitioner's compliance armoury." And she recommends them without reservation, as we do. Now, there are also several new and revised templates in the toolkit, including the following, and I'm going to list those: the revised risk register, a COLP nomination form, a checklist for new COLPs, a routine compliance activities checklist, a key staff monthly feedback report, a checklist of action in a suspected breach, data protection and loss policies, and audit and file review forms. So you've got everything basically at your fingertips. And as I've said before, it should make the administrative burden a lot easier in my view. As with all Law Society publications, this new edition will be of great help to all those members of staff responsible for a firm's regulatory compliance, which is inevitable. We have to have this sort of thing, in order that they can ensure that the correct processes are in place. Now, I run a chambers and I have exactly the same obligations, and I'm very thankful that I have a lot of support to make sure that I comply with everything that is needed whilst I'm running my business life. And likewise with the Law Society, these documents are extremely helpful for us. Now, as the author Michelle Garlick says, quote, "Every firm is different and one size does not fit all, but it's hoped that the toolkit will help you and your firm," and it does just that in my view. Garlick's a partner at Wakeman's, where she heads a team advising law firms on regulatory compliance, claims complaints handling, disciplinary representation and risk management issues. She comes to her task with a particular relish and, as to be expected, a wonderful expertise which cannot be matched elsewhere. So we are, I think, in very good hands with the advice we receive here. As Michelle says right at the end, good luck in your new role. The publication is based on the law and the SRA regulatory requirements as at May 2016. Let's just have another quick look. There's the front page again. There's the spine and then the back. And don't forget you've got the CD. So a lot of it's all there for you, so you haven't got a lot to do. There isn't an index of any sort, but you've got the appendices, which I showed earlier. We just open the book in the middle. Reporting to the SRA, you've got some scenarios set out there. So if you've got problems and you're not familiar, because you're relatively new, say, or you need to have some extra additional help, reviewing breaches, for instance, there's a lot of very matter-of-fact, hands-on information here. There's another form, internal breach form, report forms and so on. You've got a lot of forms, compliance gap analysis, for instance. There's a lot of forms, but again, they've come up with just what you need for your firm. So thank you to Law Society Publishing, thank you to Michelle Garlick and all involved in, again, making it just that bit easier for us in the profession to do what we have got to do, whether we like it or not. Good luck in your role, as they say. Bye-bye.